Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to try to get through and do the install of the Traxxas Maxx WideMaxx kit, which includes all the control arms you're going to need, upper and lower, a new rear spring, and it tells you, according to what the kit, I have to open up the box and double check, but it tells you that you have to take the rear spring and move it to the front and take the new springs that they give you and put them in here. And I believe it says you might have to change the shock oil, but I have not read it yet, so I don't know. But I'm just giving you, this is like not a teaser, but this is just letting you know. I'm going to take the wheels and the body cover off. And if you noticed, if you followed me from the last video, we had just installed the front and rear bumper lights and the light kit. Came out great. Have not gotten a chance to drive it because it's just been terrible out. Let's take the wheels off and then we'll dig right in. Now with the wheels all off, let's take a look inside the box and see what we get. Okay guys, you get the 4 lower control arms and you get the 4 upper control arms. Extended axle sleeves, and if you look, they go right here. They're going to go over the original. Longer tie rod ends for your steering because you're making the suspension a little bit longer, so you're going to need a longer tie rod. And two new rear springs. And the kit tells you have to take these springs and put them to the front. And the front springs you take off. It says if you read the instructions, for optimal efficiency of the suspension, you need to replace the rear shock oil with 50 weight, which I do believe I have. They also give you E-clip, and that is what's holding the joint inside the axle. Alright, so let's start taking it apart. So just to give you an idea of what I've done so far, I'm starting on the rear first. I took the upper control arm out, and it looks like these are 2mm hexes. One long on the lower control arm, and one long back here, and then there's the shorter bolt is for the upper. So I took that off. It sits just like this to make room for the spring. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the axle out. I'm going to remove the E-clip that's in there, and I'm going to put on the first extender to get that out of the way at least. And then I have to take more stuff off the back to get the lower control arm bolt out, which if you can kind of see in there, I have to take all this backing off, and then I can take the pin out, and then that should be good. So stay tuned. And hey guys, to do the new spring, you have to loosen that bolt right there that holds the cup. You remove the screw, you pull back on the spring, you slide the cup out, and then you put in the new spring. And I have the other spring here from the rear that's going to go back on the front when we get to the front, because the front, these springs we're just going to have, I'm going to hold on to them obviously, but you're not going to be used after this process is complete. And if you see here, like I showed earlier, this shock is ready to go, except for I'm going to put some new oil in it, so I'm going to leave it over here. Now I can dismantle the back and put it all together at one point, and get that going. So I just have to figure out how to take the rest of this off to make it work for me. Some guys take off less and more, that depends on you, but judging by what I'm looking at, I'm gonna have to get into it a little bit deeper, maybe take the screws out the bottom, and then I'll be able to get access to this area right here to slide the pin out for the lower control arm. So stay tuned. Okay guys, so I'm getting back to the lower control arms now. I found that if you remove these 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and remove this panel, but the only way to remove this panel is then right by the, the rear bumper support at the bottom here, there's 2 more screws from the inside. So once you remove them, this panel comes out, gives me access to where the pins would be. Remove this, and then I believe you remove that, and then the control arm will come out. So keep on watching. So I took the advantage of putting in the 2 control arms now. Now I can put this panel back on with the 4 set screws, or the recess screws. So I can put the rear back together, and then I can turn it upside down and continue putting back the suspension back here along with the hubs and the shock, the shocks and the axle extenders. So I'll show you that up close to show you what that takes to get that clip out. Okay guys, just to give you a heads up, so I did one of the axles. You have to remove this E-clip. I just removed, if it'll focus here, I just removed, let me see, I just removed one of them. And then what I did was I slid the pin out, and in doing so it allows you to then remove the big pin. And then you just reassemble it, lining up all the holes, and it goes right back together as a solid axle. So that, my friends, is ready to go back on here. And if you look, there's 2 hash lines on the receiving end of that axle, and there's 2 on the female side. So you just line up your lines and it goes right back on. So now I'm going to have to do the rest. I'm going to put the whole rear back together before I start the front, and then I'll show you what I've done so far. Hey guys, what's up? As I'm going along here, I just did the second axle. I noticed that it did not have an E-clip on one side of it. So check your rigs. I barely drove this thing, so it's possible they didn't put it in from the factory. So just everybody, when you do the unboxing, just go over your truck and make sure everything seems like it's supposed to be, because this one was missing, and I didn't really hit or do anything with mine to have it not be in there. So just giving you guys a heads up. I'm going to keep on wrenching. Stay tuned.
I don't deny there's some strange evolutionary process going on, but mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working here today is evidence of that.
And what I noticed, guys, you have to take the front bumper completely out. Just be careful of your wiring, because the pins get blocked by it. So then now that I took that out, I could take the front upper control arms out, put the pins back in, put the bumper back in, and then that'll be done. And then we'll just have to do the axles and the tie rods, and then we should be finished. So the WideMaxx kit is installed. I went over every screw and every bolt to see if everything was tight, and everything was. I'm gonna try driving it without the 50 weight oil in the rear, because I checked that I didn't have any left over, so I have to go pick up some at the hobby store. But I'm gonna drive it like this once the weather's nice, and we're gonna see what happens. I put a new colored roof on to match the arms, and I zip tied the wiring harness for the light kit like I said I would. So now it's just a matter of driving it and see what we get out of it. Very easy to install all that. Nothing too crazy. I went over in the video a bunch of things that would help you out along the way, but overall very smooth kit to put in. So Thanks guys for the time. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you out there.